Hi Tom, this is Dr. Nathan Barnes looking over your files. I just wanted to discuss with you some of your options for publishing your book. First of all, congratulations on compiling this rather exhaustive um, book. It's very impressive as a historian. I love coming across books like this because it gives you a very wide swath of bibliographic information to look through. The weakness of the book, of course, is you don't tell your reader the significance of all of these findings, so the reader doesn't know offhand what's valuable and what's not. And it's on the reader to uh, interpret everything. Now, this is not a bad thing if it's a source book, because what source books do is present the information only. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but I do want to show you some examples of source books because they do more than what you're doing with your book. And the more you do, the more valuable it is, and the more people will use it. And if people discover your book, if scholars discover your book, it doesn't take much for someone to come along and criticize your book enough to where nobody wants to use it anymore. The way that you avoid that is by introducing it better. So I'm going to give you some tips, hopefully some tips on that later on down the road. But for right now, I just want to address the structure of the book because this is the structural edit is the first step in this process. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the bibliography. Obviously now the bibliography is the most important point. So I'm going to look at your best, what I think is your best bibliography, this chapter 1 full biblio. This is better because it just presents everything the way books normally present it, and we'll see that in a minute. There are two weaknesses here. The first weakness is the numbering is off. If your numbering was straight, 1 through, in sequential order, it would make sense. Unfortunately, this 15, 25, 5, that doesn't make sense. So one thing that I'm going to suggest, and we're going to see this, is you number your plates in order, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you put this information not only here, but also with your plate. So it wouldn't just be a naked plate, but um, I need to pause my recording for just a second. Okay, so this is page 1, which I assume is plate 1. I don't know if it's plate 1 for sure because it's not labeled. So one thing that people do when you're doing a source book is you would have somewhere, okay, I guess you do have it. You have 1 here and 2. I guess this is plate 2, but it would actually say, uh, actually on the side here, it would say plate, like right here, say plate 1, and then it would have the bibliographic information. So that way, when a scholar picks up your book and thumbs through it, whenever we find something we like, the bibliographic information is right there for us to look at, and we don't have to go um, to the first page or the last page of the book to find what we're looking at. So that's a major criticism because it defines instantly for the reader how valuable your book is going to be to them. And you don't have to be thumbing back and forth, and it would look like a source book, instead of just a book of pictures. So that would be a pretty significant improvement to the book. It's also going to take a lot of time, in my opinion. Um, there's no easy way to do it that I know of. And I guess you're going to have to use some kind of PDF. Um, you can a couple ways you can do it. You can use your whatever photographic editor you have, image editor, or you can use a PDF editor to add that information. It'd just be a lot of copying and pasting, but that would significantly improve the book. But you see this plate here, plate 1, has to correspond with your bibliography, and it doesn't it looks like, let me see if it does. I don't think it matches. You know, this is 15, so 1. Discordus, Paul. Yeah, that's probably not this. Dio. Oh, maybe it is. Medicia, Materna. Yep, it is. Okay. This is 7. 1. See, I think this doesn't match. See one in English here. Just so it's very clear to both of us. I love this book, man. It's really cool. But unfortunately, the reader doesn't instantly know what they're looking at. Especially even me, you know, I can read these languages, but it would take me a while to really understand what it was. But usually it falls on the, you know, it's your responsibility as the author or compiler to tell the reader what they're looking at. So that, you know, when I'm doing research, man, I don't have much time to figure out what it is I'm looking at. I have to assess the value of it immediately. You know, I know from looking at this that this is a valuable collection, but I don't know specifically how I can use it. If there were the briefest introduction to each section, it would really, really help. This one looks like we can use it. Number 33. It looks like that's just a page number and not a plate number. 33. History navigation. Okay. Huh. History daily navigation. Okay. It just looks odd, but that looks like it's the right plate. Okay. Okay, second criticism of the bibliography. This ellipsis here should not be in a bibliography. It looks like to me that you copied that from Google Books. I'll show you what I mean. Or your, you know, Zotero copied it from Google Books. Whenever you have a long title here in Google Books and you copy it like that, it'll come out with that ellipsis. And in a bibliography, you need to list the full title. So the way that you do that is whenever you go to Google Books, sorry about that. If you click on the book, clear your search, you got to go up to the top. It'll have the full title. Well, this one, the full title is right there. But it'll have the full title somewhere. You might not be able to copy and paste it. That's going to be a pain with the foreign languages. But in every reference list that I know of, you can't, I'm going to show you some examples. You can't have the ellipsis. This is an APA reference list example, and you'll see full title. They don't have the dot, dot, dot. And then you need to follow some example. This looks like we're using APA style. You know, you have the last name, first initial, year, title, and over here, you know, you have the last name, first initial, year, title, and you're also So a lot of these are in Latin, so you're having the lowercase here, and and then you have uppercase. It needs to be consistent, but you need to have a all the full titles here. You also need to have not just the country, but you also need to have the um, publisher, and you don't have any publishers. Now you can get away with not having the publisher listed, and a lot of these older ones you're not going to even know, and it has, you know, you have all this stuff here. It's gonna be a nightmare to try to figure out who published this stuff. You know, you'd have to translate all of that, and then find out which name is a 18th century publisher. So you might be able to get away with just doing the country, but you definitely need the full title. Otherwise, it's hard for the scholar to know if they have the right book. And it also tells you, in my opinion, the quality of the author, you know, not knowing how to do bibliography. So I would definitely encourage you to go back and find all the titles, the full titles, if you don't have them already, and present them in this format in your bibliography. Um, I do I do encourage you to um, make this a little clearer here. It needs to be in sequential order and match. I don't know why the numbers aren't in the same order, but I guess you'll tell me. Um, I really like this, and I think you'll see this as we go along. I want to show you some more styles. This is the style that is popular for MLA. This is the arts. APA is what the scientists use, and also, and you know, it's American Psychological Association. This is what philosophers use uh, that I've seen. You know, you see, you have the full name, and you have an inconvenient truth. This is um, a review. REV is review. But you know, you see this. You know, you see books and stuff like that. But this is what a different style of bibliography looks like, and I do not want you to change it to this style. You just need to know it's out there, and you'll see. Um, I don't think they give you a good a good range of examples. It just looks like most of these are journal articles, but you can look at different examples. This is Chicago. It's, you know, you can tell it's different in the bibliography from what you're doing. So I would encourage you to stick with what you're doing, but just add the full titles, because that's one thing that is, if you look at these examples that I give you, it's one thing that they all have in common. And okay, secondly, okay, to recap, your bibliography makes sense. This is what you should print. You shouldn't be printing your addendums in the form of the tables that you sent me. The better way to do it is like this, and as long as it makes sense, is, you know, sequential order and matches your book. I would also encourage you to have this information along with the plate itself, which is going to be a lot of work. But we'll return to that in a minute. One significant challenge you're going to have is your file size. Your file size really is a beast at 1.5, I mean 1.4. It's just massive. Most of the stuff that I work with is well under 400. The reason for this is CreateSpace was not created to be like a picture book. It's created for text. They're playing catch up with the rest of the world. You know, CreateSpace was one of the first um, self-publishing platforms, and it was created for people to publish, you know, the written word and not images. So images really don't look all that great in CreateSpace. We can make it work, and it's going to take some trial and error. But usually, when I publish a book, I usually have about 10 images instead of 500. So we're going to be working with a lot of data. But if your pictures are all the same size and all the same resolution, half the battle is fought. So, or more than half the battle. But as you can see here, it gets significantly less as we go to ebooks. 50, 25, 20, but then we go to iBooks, which is the newest version of self-publishing platform, and that's 2 gigabytes. So you're going to be able to publish your full book in one volume with iBooks. Um, it's going to be challenging, but it's feasible. But I don't think that you can get your book down to 20 megabytes from 1.4 gigabytes by adjusting your resolution. It's just not possible. So one thing that I suggest, the first thing that comes to mind actually, is if you use Google Drive to host all of your PDF files, which you're already doing, in a public folder, you can create a website that's dedicated to the book. And your website will be your primary way to show people your research. And then in your book, you point people to the website. So in other words, your book will have your bibliography and links to your website out like that. And after each entry, you tell the reader a little bit about every one of them. And that will be your book. And it'll be a short book, a source book that points to your website. Are there books like this? Yes, there are many, many books like this because publishing this amount of images is not a popular thing to do. The only books that I've read as a historian are archaeological reports that are all images, never source books. Most of the books that I've read, they will have the same thing that's in your book, only there won't be images of the Google book. It will be, the text only transcribed onto the page. So that way it's not an image, it's text. And we'll see that in the examples. So that's how you're going to be able to cram all of that information in to these small platforms. Now, what you can do is something similar. You can divide it up into 3 volumes and 3 or 4 volumes and publish it as 3 or 4 print books. And the downside to that is your sales are going to be low, very, very low. It's going to be low in the first place, but it's going to be even lower if you're trying to divide it up into 4, because essentially you're selling the same thing 4 times, and it's not gonna work. From a marketing point of view, it's the worst thing you can do. But if you publish it online, people can still cite it. It's still going to be the same cost to you, which is, well, it might even be more expensive because you're going to have to pay for the site. You're going to pay something. But all this stuff is free to publish on. But if you have it online, easily accessible, it's going to be just as valuable to scholars as a book. And more people are going to see it because you're going to be searching online for this type of material. And you can keep contributing to it, and I'll help you. So that's something to think about, and we can talk about it if you're even interested in it. We can talk about it in more detail. But if you're going to publish it on CreateSpace, it's going to have to be in multiple volumes, at least 4, and then you're going to have to find a way to really minimize for the ebooks and publish it in 1 volume for iBooks. So my best solution to you is just to create a website. I'll show you some examples of that. The other solutions, like I said, 3 or 4 volumes in CreateSpace, an entire volume in iBooks. Okay, as far as your original content goes, your introduction is fine, your prologue is fine. I have some minor suggestions, and I can send those to you if you send me a Word document, or I can just annotate on your document on your PDF itself. Now, I don't, this is only going to take you maybe 10 minutes to correct. Now, your structure is going to take you a long time. I mean, if you were to tell people, like I suggested, a little bit on each one, that's going to take you 3 years to go through all this stuff and analyze it enough to say something about it. That's where your partnership comes into play if you get somebody else involved in the project.